The most anticipated earnings releases for the week of April 15, 2024. Presented by earningswhispers. Here we go. Earnings season is now fully underway with mostly a full calendar to view and more than 120 companies scheduled to report earnings. Don't get us wrong though, this is still a light week for earnings. More S&P 500 companies will report earnings next week than the entire list for this week. We don't include companies that haven't officially scheduled their earnings release yet, and there are still 50 large cap names yet to tell us for sure when they will report, so ultimately, we expect the week of April 30th to be the busiest week for the large companies and the small caps taking over from there. The main takeaway here, though, is that the financials will dominate the calendar this week, with the names spread out roughly equally each day. They didn't have a good day on Friday after their peers kicked off the reporting season, mainly because JP Morgan said their own stock price was a little high. Prior to the earnings release, shares of the stock relative to the financials spider were at a 20-year high. Not on the calendar this week is Organigram, which has reported results during the first half of April the past 4 years. But this year, it hasn't even told us when they will report earnings yet. That is not typically because they are holding back on telling us good news. On Monday, we'll get the big financials out of the way early with both Goldman Sachs and Charles Schwab reporting at 7:30, and with both stocks pulling back from a high, the question will be whether weakness will continue to weigh or if the rest of the financials will begin to outperform their largest peer. Ditto for Bank of America on Tuesday morning, so the focus should probably be on UnitedHealth Group, which is taking out its lows going into earnings, and sentiment has tanked to a multi-year low. We haven't seen sentiment in UnitedHealth drop this low this quickly very often. The first time was in December 2003, and the last time was in January 2023. Each time it proved to be a buying opportunity for the stock with an average quarterly gain of 15%. Still, waiting until after the company reports would be the safer trade. Investors' focus shifts away from the financials on Wednesday, with most of the interest on ASML, which has seen the opposite swing in sentiment, which isn't the bearish signal you might think going into earnings, but the focus will be on the second half strength the company promised us last quarter. Abbott also reports before the open on Wednesday. Investors have disliked this stock since late 2022, which is fair because the stock has been a laggard during this time, but it has moved sideways rather than down and just attempted its first breakout before pulling back into the area of mainly buyers. Despite all the financial companies reporting this week, the fireworks will come on Thursday in something other than the financials. Netflix reports after the close, and the stock keeps pressing higher after reporting strong results last quarter. Probably more importantly, though, will be Taiwan Semiconductor, which will report before the open on that same day. It is more important because of its read-through into the rest of the semiconductor industry. The company gave a rather rosy outlook, and the stock spiked to a new high in March before pulling back. The company already told us they had slightly better than expected results during the quarter, so the focus will be on whether that outlook remains. We've already learned that the consumer is still spending and delinquencies remain okay. And we've also learned that credit card usage is on the rise and travel remains strong. That really only leaves the state of the small business as something that will significantly change the story when American Express reports Friday morning. Next on the list on Friday morning is Procter & Gamble, which has been able to raise prices on the products you need regularly without you looking elsewhere. That is expected to continue, but some cracks are developing in that story, such as in diapers. However, we haven't seen that in the data for most of the company's divisions, and overall earnings continue to trend higher. The average price reaction to earnings last quarter was higher than throughout 2023, which has brought the 6-quarter average to a multi-year high. Going into earnings season this quarter, the average implied move is 100 basis points below this average move, which is consistent with what we've seen for most of the past year. One big exception to this is Martin Transport. The company reported rather weak results last quarter, and the stock subsequently sold off to its lowest level since its last positive earnings in mid-2022. Since mid-2022, however, the stock has averaged a 5.6% move on earnings, but this time around, option traders are looking for a move nearly 3 times that. We are still waiting on Amazon and AMD to schedule their dates, but with Cisco and Walmart reporting in mid-May, this is what earnings season looks like. Yet, the biggest name, Nvidia, will report the week after.
Shh.